We got a little battle on the waiver wire this week as we roll into week 6, and it's at the running back position. We did this last week, so I figured we'd just go over the 2 hot prospects on the waiver wire, hash it out, and go over who I would rather have and the numbers so you can make sure who you would rather have. But Jeff Wilson and Emari Demercado are battling it out in the search ranks. They're battling it out on the waiver wire. They're battling it out for fantasy value right now. So we're going to go over the news, the facts, the data, the advanced metrics, everything we see here so we can make the best, most sound decision possible. But what you need to do is click that subscribe button right now. Tap it with the finger on your phone. Click it with your mouse. Make sure you hit that button. Stop missing out on these deep dives on these lesser known waiver wire prospects. We roll out 2 or 3 of those a day. We cover the waiver wire extensively all week long. We also help you set your lineups, help you win trades. We talk about players nonstop all year long as well. Hit that button. Stop missing out. But let's dig into these players right here. But first things first, the one reason why we're talking about Jeff Wilson is Devin Achane. Devin Achane is on ER due to a knee injury. So he's going to be out for a little bit. And Jeff Wilson's coming back from IR. He's practicing. They opened up the 21-day window. Should be back soon. Should be back this week. That's how I'm reading the tea leaves. But we'll have to wait and see. But more than likely, he's back for sure. He's definitely back. Now we're looking at Jeff Wilson. We do not have any production for 2023 as he's been on IR. But he's 6 foot, 210 pounds. He's been with Miami since last year, since he's been traded from the 49ers to the Dolphins for a 4th-round pick. Getting reunited with Mike McDaniel. He has a history in the system and really did well. Once he got traded to the Dolphins, and he was productive in a fantasy football sense, getting you double-digit PPR fantasy points throughout the year, off and on, and then he has been productive throughout his career. As you see this through 2020 up until now, he has been a productive running back. He can get you splash games. He can get you consistent production. He can get you down games as well, so you want to look at the good and the bad here. But we have a history with Jeff Wilson, and he's in one of the most explosive offenses in the league, which should ignite his production. And last year, this Dolphins offense was not near as explosive as it is this year. So inserting him with the chain out, that could be an interesting thing to see because Wilson could go off as well. Mo Sturt's been doing well in this offense. Wilson should get you a little bit more than what he did last year if we're adding things up correctly, because last year we saw him score 12, 11, 10, 9 fantasy points on the top end with the Dolphins in the back half of the season. We should be seeing more. And looking at the stats last year with the Dolphins, we had a 100-yard game here with them. We're also catching balls out of the backfield. We're getting rushing attempts here, 17, 13, 15, 16, 10. So in double digits while sharing the workload, 4.4 yards per carry, 414 yards with the Dolphins, and he was productive with the Niners as well. So this is a good get off the waiver wire if you happen to pick him up. Hopefully you picked him up prior to this week, as we knew he was coming back from IR very soon, and the opportunity was going to be great for him being in this offense, even with a 3-headed monster at running back, because we know he's going to have some splash performances nonetheless, because this team can move the football, and they will share that rock with everybody there. And looking at Jeff Wilson, the athletic specs, 4.62, 40-yard dash, doesn't matter really. Doesn't matter really because we know he can compete in the league. He is almost 28 years old. He has some injuries to his name. That's one thing to think about when you're looking at him for the long term. But we're looking at him right now, diving into this offense, getting opportunity, and playing with one of the most explosive offenses in the league. And look at the running back depth chart here and their production. Devin Achane's given up 34% of the team's rushing attempts, the team workload here, 460 rushing yards, 12.1 yards per carry. So some of that's going to go to Mostert. Some of that's going to go to Wilson when he's back. So there's going to be opportunity as this team sprints on opposing defenses, running 60 plays per game. But that's kind of on a low end because they're up in some games so much. Remember when they hung 70 on the Broncos? Once you get up so high, you can kind of lower the pace a little bit. because you bring in the backups, you give other players some opportunity, you slow things out. But they like to run a track meet. I don't think anyone's going to dispute that. But now we're going to go to the other side. Look at Emari Demercado here. And the big thing happening for him, James Conner on injured reserve, opening up the depth chart at the running back position for a few games here for a good bit on the back half of the season. Looking at him, he was productive for one game, and that was when Conner was out, and that was last week in week 5, scoring 12 fantasy points there, rushing for 45 yards and scoring a touchdown on 10 rushing attempts and catching one ball for 12 yards. So he can be productive. That's kind of what it says. He's 5'9", 215 pounds. Good size for a running back who gets a decent amount of workload there. And then looking at the specs here, 4.49 40-yard dash, so good size, adjusted athleticism as it ranks 83rd percentile among running back prospects. That means he's got some upside to his game. That means if he hits the hole, he could really get you some yards in chunks there. That's something we want out of our running backs, especially those guys who's climbing the depth chart. And then looking at his college production, not the greatest thing. 5 years at TCU. Best year was his final year in 2022. He shared the backfield with some good running backs. Zach Evans, Kendre Miller, still was able to hold it down while Kendre Miller was going off. And he also got some production, I guess you could say that, while Zach Evans was there. Really not the greatest collegiate profile. That's why he fell out of the draft, didn't get drafted. But that being said, he was able to climb the depth chart, make the 53-man roster, able to have a role this deep into the season. But there's a big question mark now. Keaontay Ingram listed as the team's starting running back with Conner out. However, we're still waiting on that neck injury, as they're saying that they're going to see when he gets back, see how he's rolling, and see if he's good to go. So it's a little bit ambiguous. We could see Demercado start off as the hot hand, start off getting the touches, and then Ingram, as he gets introduced back, depending on how the injury is rolling here, start siphoning the work. Or if Ingram's good to go, he's going to be getting a buttload of touches. I like Ingram. I like him a lot coming out of college. I liked him as a late-round prospect in last year's draft. We were getting him a lot in Dynasty rookie drafts last year, and I've been making it a point to mention him whenever we talked about Demercado because of the size-adjusted athleticism, because what he did at Texas. Even though it wasn't gangbusters, he was productive there. He was productive at USC. He was able to do something with 2 different collegiate programs. 221 pounds, moves really well for his size. 80th percentile size-adjusted speed score. But I like bigger running backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield. That's what he can do. He also moves laterally very well for his size. I really hope he develops the vision for the NFL game. We saw that as a lackluster part of his profile in preseason as he was getting carries. So hopefully he develops and shows us a little bit more. But again, he's another one of those running backs. If he gets enough touches, he could be a big thing. He could be a big thing. And it looks like we might have a committee here. We might not. Demercado is going to come out getting some touches, maybe. It might be the guy, but Ingram, I really like his collegiate profile. I like that he was productive. I like the athletic metrics. I like how he's using the passing game. When you look at both schedules here, the Dolphins schedule doesn't really matter because they can dictate the pace. When you look at the Cardinals, it's a little bit up and down. Not the greatest. We do have some games where they could go off, but also some games that they could be stifled as well. So pick your poison there. Then we look at the matchup here, Wilson versus Demercado. I'm rolling Wilson 9 times out of 10, 100 times out of 100, however you want to call it. I just like the upside. I like the team. I am scared of Ingram. I like Ingram better as a prospect than Demercado. And if Ingram's getting opportunity, if that neck is good and he's rolling and he is starting to get touches in this offense, I look for this to at least be a committee, but Ingram could take over sooner than later. But if you need touches for this week and you're scrambling, I understand for Demercado. I like Jeff Wilson. I believe he should have been stashed weeks prior. Most people watching this channel already has him stashed if you watched a lot of these videos as we cover the depth charts, as we cover the waiver wire, because we've talked about him before in weeks prior. Like, hey, Jeff Wilson's coming up. Here's your opportunity. Stash him. And a lot of people stashed him on IR from the beginning of the season. That being said, look at your IR spot, and if it's empty, figure out a way to fill it to get a stash. Try to find an IR guy off waivers, pick him up, and hoard him there, see what happens. And that's just a free player, free get. And it may not amount to anything, but if it's free, go with it. If you get a free sample at the store, you eat it. Why not take that free sample off the IR? But again, I'm going Wilson over Demercado, and I think most people are too. Not much of a dichotomy this week like last week, but I feel like this is a good series to start for the rest of the season, going over the top couple prospects from the waiver wire and doing a versus battle. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.